A bit of news to share with you. A bishop of the underground Catholic Church in China, missing for 17 years, is now feared dead. Bishop James Su Jimin would have been 88 years old and was last seen in 2003. Bishop Su was first arrested in 1997 for refusing to join the state-sanctioned Catholic Patriotic Association, the communist-run church. Communist officials are pressing the Vatican to recognize his former assistant bishop as the new ordinary. That former assistant is a member of the state-run Catholic Church and vice chairman of the local Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association. The communist Chinese government recently passed in China a new law cracking down on dissent in Hong Kong. On Sunday, Pope Francis was expected to mention China's new security law, but reportedly skipped those remarks in his customary Angelus address. More details on all of that in our next segment. He is the retired Bishop of Hong Kong and joins us tonight with an update on the persecuted church in his native China and how the so-called security law recently enacted in Hong Kong may affect religious freedom. Please welcome back to the program Joseph Cardinal Zen. Your Eminence, thank you for being here. As I mentioned, on June 30th, China passed this new security law for Hong Kong. It makes it easier for them to punish protesters. It reduces Hong Kong's autonomy. The details of the law were kept secret until it was passed, and it criminalizes any act of secession, breaking away from the country, subversion, undermining the power or authority of the central government, terrorism, using violence or intimidation against people, or collusion with foreign or external forces. Now, in addition, Hong Kong will have to establish its own National Security Commission to enforce this law, with Beijing appointing an advisor. Now, Beijing will have power over how the law should be interpreted, and not any Hong Kong judicial or policy body. If the new law conflicts with any Hong Kong statute, the Beijing law takes priority. It effectively strips away the freedom of speech and protest for the people of Hong Kong. Your Eminence, what does this mean to the Catholic Church and to your fellow citizens in Hong Kong?
I think there is no need to distinguish the church from the people, because there is or there is no freedom. So when you have freedom, you have also religious freedom. We don't have religious freedom because we don't have freedom. Now, with this so-called national security law, we are back to the Cultural Revolution. And they have ignored everything in the basic law in this agreement with the United Kingdom. And so we are at the mercy of this new commission. And okay, I went through the whole text of the law, but it's easy to tell you just in one sentence. Now they can do anything. They can do anything. Yeah. Okay, they say normally it's like this and that, and then say in the special circumstances we can do this and that. So they can do everything. So we need your prayer because we are in the hands of the madness of our government.
Wow. Cardinal John Tong Han, who is the Apostolic Administrator of the Diocese of Hong Kong, had this to say. He said, "I personally believe that the national security law will have no effect on religious freedom because Article 32 of the Basic Law guarantees that we have freedom of religion, and we can openly preach and hold religious ceremonies and participate in religious activities. The diocese has always had a direct relationship with the Vatican. The relationship between the Hong Kong diocese and the Vatican should be regarded as an internal matter." Do you agree with that, Your Eminence?
I'm a good brother to Cardinal Tong, but he has to be obedient to the instruction from the Vatican. And now to be with the Vatican almost means to be also full of respect to the Chinese government. And so I can suppose that there may be some difference between what Cardinal Tong thinks and what I am saying, because for me, the Vatican is pursuing constantly a policy of submissiveness to the Chinese government. And so
wow.
I cannot explain the meaning of what Cardinal Tom said, because for me, the basic law is finished.
So you don't believe religious freedom is protected under this new law?
No, no. And even before this national security law, people are talking that our next bishop, we don't have bishop now,
right.
since 1.5 year, yeah. And they say the new bishop needs the blessing from Beijing. That means the basic law is over, because when myself and Cardinal John Tong, we were ordained the bishops, we had full freedom. But this freedom, which is there in the basic law, but the basic law disappeared with this new national security law.
Yeah, and for those who don't understand, in 1997, when the British handed Hong Kong back to the Chinese, there were all kinds of agreements, including that Hong Kong would maintain its autonomy and would have its own laws. It would be separate from the mainland. It seems this law eradicates anything in that agreement, that it supersedes all of that. Do you expect to see the same Sinicization that we've seen in church affairs in Hong Kong that we've seen throughout China?
I think on the surface, nothing changed as about religion, and so we may have better to talk about freedom in general, because it's about everybody and not only the church. The church makes no difference, because after this so-called national security law, they called all the representatives of the religions. We in Hong Kong, they recognize 6 religions, and the leaders and also other people from the Catholic Church. I heard that there were 5 or 6 people went there, called by the local government to express their opinion. Now you can see what opinion you can say in those circumstances. We don't know what Cardinal Tong actually said, but after that, when interviewed by our Catholic Weekly, he said that in this moment we must be united among ourselves and just concentrate in the work of evangelization. Now, I really find myself in difficulty to understand what is this unity, because if that means to be subservient to the government, to applaud to this law is against my conscience, because this law is taking away all the freedoms, not only religious freedom, but simply the freedom. And so we are losing the freedom of speech. So everybody is afraid. And I'm telling people, it's okay if you are afraid. You would be foolish not to be afraid, because this law can do anything to you. So many people are going away, and I think they do well, because it's not wise to be sacrificed uselessly, because we are facing madness. We are facing a new cultural revolution.
You, Your Eminence, have said you're prepared to suffer arrest and trials under this new security law. Do you worry that's going to happen soon? And have there been any threats against you or other bishops in Hong Kong by the government since the passage of this law?
Oh, I don't think I'm among the first people, but anybody in Hong Kong, if you come out to say something against this law, and anything may be taken as against this law, And so nobody will be spared. So why I should make exception of myself? But I think we bishops, even emeritus, we have a duty to defend the freedom because by our episcopal ordination, we are now responsible for the understanding of the doctrine of the church. And the church is on the side of the persecuted. And so we're bound to say something which may be taken as offense against the new law.
Yeah. Your Eminence, this past Sunday, Pope Francis dropped a reference to Hong Kong and a plea for religious freedom there from the text of his public message. Now, in the text, which was given to Vatican journalists before the Angelus address, the Pope planned to comment on Hong Kong and religious freedom. Why do you think the Pope chose not to say anything about the situation in Hong Kong?
I have seen the text, which is very mild, in no way offensive to the Chinese government. But still, I don't know why the Pope abstained from pronouncing those words. But I suppose you know all the conjectures, the guessing of the people. Some say maybe the Holy Father thought that it's better not to say, or some say he may have received some words from the Chinese embassy in Italy, or something like that. And I think it's no surprise because it's not a isolated episode. It's already a long-standing policy of the Vatican not to offend the Chinese government. They never said a word.
Yeah, they've said next to nothing about the protests or the rising problems in Hong Kong prior to this law being passed. Do you believe there's truth to the story that the Vatican may have received money from the Chinese government to buy its silence? There was that story last week around the world.
Yeah, that comes from a Chinese businessman now in the United States. He is very well informed about many things, but I cannot be sure about the exact size of this episode, and even whether it is true. But the fact that there is such a plan in the Chinese Communist policy, he called a portion of their business with a country, that the money is used for such purposes. And so I think the Vatican has to come out and to deny, because there is a saying that silence is to admit. So it's important to come out to deny, because otherwise we Catholic people, we can feel very much confused.
No, the silence certainly speaks in its own way. Your Eminence, you've been highly critical of the Vatican-China deal, signed over a year ago, pointing out that the Vatican has gotten nothing out of it. What do you make of the calls of Archbishop Marietcheli to renew the deal for 1 to 2 more years?
You see, Raymond, I give no importance to that so-called agreement. First of all, because it is secret, I don't know anything exactly, but I can guess that agreement is more or less a way which things were going before the agreement. There was a long time a kind of compromise in the appointment of the bishops. I don't think that agreement be very much different. But the things which happened after that, much worse. Like the legitimization of the 7 bishops. I understand that the Holy See legitimized many people, but those are good people, people who surrendered to the government under very high pressure. You can imagine those times before or immediately after the Cultural Revolution, and many accept to be ordained illegitimately under pressure. And if they refuse, they go to prison or to labor camps, and they die there. So when the open door policy started, they approached the Holy See, they humbly recognized their mistake, and they asked to be legitimized. And at that time, the prefect of the Congregation for Evangelization was Cardinal Zen, and he made some investigation, and then the Holy See legitimized. And those archbishops, good. So it was encouragement, consolation for those bishops and for their people. But now these 7 people are all different. For many years, they challenged the church. They challenged doctrine and the rule of the church. And even after this legitimization, we see no sign of their repentance or their gratitude to the Holy Father for the generosity, for giving them. And they just went around singing triumph. Now they are winners. They have been clever to follow the government. But the worst thing is what happened 1 year ago. The so-called pastoral guidance for the clergy about this registration. That's terrible. A document without a specification from which department of the Holy See, and no signature. But I know, everybody knows, it must be the work of Cardinal Parolin. Now, last year, the day after I saw that document, I took a flight to Rome. I asked Holy Father a favor. I said, I'm here for 4 days. Please call me. I want to discuss with Parolin on that document at your presence, in your presence. And unfortunately, the Holy Father invited me to supper with Parolin. But no way to have that discussion. When I asked, can we discuss? The Holy Father said, I'm going to look into the matter. So I came back empty-handed. But not exactly, because I could see some embarrassment in the Holy Father. He showed so much affection to me, but he could not give me that favor because Parolin denied that favor. So that's very sad. So
now, you wrote in a recent post, Your Eminence, that the Pope is giving the sheep to the wolves. How so?
Yeah, because if you know those 7 people, and how can they become bishops? Because 2 of them are not observing the law of celibacy. That's notorious. Everybody knows. So I may be big sinner, but they are public sinners. So it's a scandal to make them bishops.
We should be clear for the audience, Your Eminence. These are 7 excommunicated bishops. They were never accepted by the Church, but after this deal, the Vatican normalized them and elevated them, made them heads of diocese, pushing out bishops who had been loyal to Rome and part of the underground church for years. That was the background here.
Yeah, because in those 7 dioceses, there are 2 dioceses where there was already a legitimate bishop, and they would ask to step down. Incredible. So
it's a sad situation.
I don't think I have other words to use. It is a betrayal of the real church. And I made a list of questions about that instruction, but no answer came. I even sent those questions to all the cardinals, but not much reaction. They are very obedient to the Holy See.
Wow. The United States and her allies have been very critical of that new security law in Hong Kong, and there are calls to put pressure on the government of China. What's the best way for the U.S. Catholics and those in Europe, people of faith, to support the people of Hong Kong at this time, Your Eminence?
Oh, I know the Catholics in the United States are doing already much. They are praying for first of all, because many people assured me that they're praying for China. And I have information that many are also doing many things. And I hope the whole world may be awakened because we now we can see the real face of the Chinese Communist Party, and it's now it's a spiritual warfare between the lie and the truth, between the selfish desire of power, of domination, and concern for other people. So it's a warfare between the good and evil. So I hope that the whole world should stand up.
Your Eminence, we will continue to report on this. Thank you for your bravery. Stay safe. You know, in the United States, we're having a conversation about the systemic oppression of people. We're seeing it in real time on the streets of Hong Kong and throughout China. Labor camps for Uyghurs, the killing indiscriminately of children, forced sterilizations. It's a horrendous regime, and it's right there if the world takes time to look for it and at it. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. We will, of course, keep you in our prayers. For love of my people, I will not keep silent. The most recent book by Joseph Cardinal Zen is still available in bookstores and everywhere. It's a worthy read. Your Eminence, thank you so much.
Thank you for your concern.